Good morning. Canada is witnessing a tragedy of untold dimensions. The fires in Fort McMurray are so devastating as to stir the very conscience of the people. And yet, we have to see what's happening. What solace is there for them? What rescue is there for them? The same government which had allocated $1.2 billion to help the Syrian refugees is also trying to help Fort McMurray victims. Great. But look at the quantum of it. 1.2 billion for the Syrian refugees and coming. The normal firefighting, hundreds of firefighters, helicopters, everything, that is to control the fire and to rescue people. And how much to help them? I was shocked to know that the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared in a very magnanimous manner that they will match the private charities. Whatever money is contributed to the Canadian Red Cross Society would be matched dollar to dollar by the federal government. How gracious and how great, how charitable. But it pales into insignificance when compared with the largest given to the Syrian refugees. I have nothing against helping Syrian refugees, please be sure. Though I do object to their coming in because there can be terrorists disguised as refugees. Nevertheless, the quantum of the help given to them and the quantum of the help given to my own people, the people who have been sustaining the economy of the country, the people who are the backbone of the country, is simply shocking. I fail to understand this dichotomy of action. Is it a calculated move, or is it just plain, I was going to say idiocy, but I won't say it because the Prime Minister is involved, and I must pay proper deference to the Honorable Prime Minister. But nevertheless, is the Prime Minister sufficiently observing the decency and decorum? In the last few days, we have seen ample evidence that the people in authority are losing all sense of decency. You would be wondering why I am shifting from inequitable and unbalanced approaches to the Syrian refugees and the Fort McMurray evacuees. That was the base which annoyed me. And when you are annoyed, when you are angry, when you are frustrated, everything which the persona responsible for that action comes to your mind. And today, I was just ruminating. Why is that the liberals who cry pecque at Trump's insensate remarks are themselves so misogynist and so cruel? There were protests in the Ontario Parliament when the Energy Minister, Shirley, used very sexist and insulting remarks for NDP leader Andrea Howard. I am no lover of NDP, you are aware of that. But the human decency and the respect for the leaders, any human being, is a prime qua non for proper, decent interaction. The Honourable Minister of Energy of Ontario said that the leader of NDP, pees all over the map as far as the energy is concerned. Now, this reference to a dog, especially and this use of this language is absolutely unwarranted, uncalled for, and unacceptable. But then the political leaders, the followers especially, take their cue from the leader. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, when a question was asked from him, he forked his tongue out. Now, this pushing the tongue out is a sign of contempt. You may agree with the policies or you may not agree with the policies. Even the question asked might be absolutely useless. Everything is possible. You can resent it. You can be getting annoyed at it. You can feel insulted. But you have no right to insult the member of the parliament who's asking a question. And in this case, the question was a very, very appropriate one. The action of the Prime Minister in forking out his contemptuous tongue as the honourable member was not only insulting, it shows immaturity. An immaturity that belies all acts of decency. But then what do you expect from a guy whose father, the Honourable Pierre Trudeau, used the word fuddle-buddle, fuddle-duddle. Now that progeny is now being contemptuous. Earlier, when a lady, member of the parliament, was asking a question, he started waving her away, again very contemptuously. So what the Prime Minister does, percolates down to the other people in other parts of the country, and that's what Energy Minister Shirley did to Andrea Howard. This lack of politeness, which we deride in outsiders and opponents, but that we show every time, only shows that we are fast degenerating into a set of baboons. After Parliament is a collection of baboons. And then, looking at the largest and the large-heartedness of the Prime Minister, you are possibly aware that he recently made a state visit to United States of America, where the President of America hosted for him a state dinner. Well, he had an entourage of 44 people. I can understand Mr. Trudeau accompanying him. I can fully appreciate also that he took his young kids with him. But taking 44 people, which included his own mother and the parents of his wife, 2 nannies, 9 ministers, 5 political aides, head of the fundraising of the Liberal Party and the president of the Liberal Party and others. And that all at the taxpayer's expense. Why should a taxpayer fund the player jaunt of Mrs. Margaret Trudeau, mother of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or the parents-in-law of Justin Trudeau? The taxpayer is supposed to fund the expenses of the Prime Minister and his wife, not even of the children. You remember very well, I'm sure, that when Prime Minister Harper took his daughter to New York to watch a hockey game, he had to reimburse the expenses incurred for the traveling of his daughter in the state plane. Isn't what is sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander? The same liberals who were crying themselves hoarse at that time, why are their vocal cords gone numbed? Why are they not active now? Evidently, what is sauce for the goose is not sauce for the gander. And then at nannies, do you know that they were accompanying them there? Okay, because the children are there, the nannies would be there. But why should the government pay the expense? And why should the taxpayer fund that? And nannies are costing $100,000 a year. Which one of you would not like to be a nanny to Justin Trudeau's children? A nanny getting a sunshine income, and that too from the taxpayer. If you study the history, nowhere in a democratic regime has this sort of a plunder taken place. It happens in the royal families. Because royal families, especially earlier, not now, but earlier, they used to consider the state as their personal fiefdom, personal property. But the Prime Minister doesn't own the nation. He represents the nation. He is the first among the equals. Let's not, primus inter pares is the word used for the Prime Minister. The first among the equals. And when his children, we don't begrudge them safety, we don't give them care. They have to be done. But let the Prime Minister pay from his own pocket. Why should the state fund it? Or at the most, the nannies should be paid when they are traveling with them officially, but not all 24 hours. But we have talked about that earlier. However, what pains me more is three things. A, waste of the public fund. B, lack of decency and respect for others. And C, our being miserly when our people are suffering, and being very large-hearted when we want to show to the world that we are generous to a fault. This is not generosity. This is hypocrisy of the worst order. I would, with all the force at my command, like to place a vote of censure at this conduct. Justin Trudeau is a nice person, but he is showing immaturity, he is showing indecency, and he is showing signs of financial profligacy. He is also showing signs of hypocrisy by differentiating between the Syrian refugees and Fort McMurray evacuees. He is showing disrespect to the women. He is showing disrespect to the elected members of the parliament. And let me tell you, the honeymoon period doesn't last long. It's not forever. You can fool people for some of the time, but not for all the people, for all the times to come. One day, and the day may not be far, the day of reckoning will be there. I don't want it to be there. I want this country to be peaceful and heavenly sweet. I don't want a discordant note in the country. But when you show lack of respect, when you show misogynist and contemptuous behavior for the other sex, as the energy minister has done, then these are the signs, these are the portents of a civilization gone astray. They are the signs of a culture that is getting curdled. They are signs of a nation on the brink of an abyss. Abyss of being the dark continent. I don't want it to happen to Canada. I want Canada to be what it is. The prime example of decency, decorum, care, consideration, and compassion. I also want it to be an example of equity and fairness. I want the leaders to show that they are not power hungry, money hungry, greedy, contemptuous of the people sort of persons. I want them to show that they are really considerate, caring, compassionate Canadians who are honest and fair in their dealings, who show respect to each other and care for the people like caring for the outsiders. But let's not forget, charity begins at home. We need charity, we don't need those. Thank you.